is the bustling shopping area in downtown Tokyo called the Ginza. Just about anything you could want that money could buy, you can get right here. But I've come all this way to get something that money can't buy: justice. A grieving family from the United States who lost a loved one here in Tokyo reached out to me to help ease their pain. I've come all this way to help close that case, a case which began half a world away. Family trips to places like the Grand Canyon and the Statue of Liberty were more than just summer vacations for the Kang family. These were special trips to places they'd read about long before they ever lived in Buford, Georgia. Sung Won and Gaeon Kang emigrated from Seoul, Korea to the U.S. with their 2 children. Like a lot of other Korean immigrants, they gave their kids American names: Scott and Rebecca.
I came to United States 1993, July 29th.
Proud to become an American, Sung Won worked hard to raise his children in their new home. He started a beauty supply business and saw his dreams for his oldest child come true.
Hey, Abdur.
Generous, accountable.
Scott became a typical American teenager, as this lighthearted video for a high school project shows.
Yo, I'm Scott Kang, yo.
Yeah, he loved so much love to America, so he want to become a politician, and he want to join Army, so he got the scholarship from ROTC.
With an ROTC scholarship, Scott enrolled in New York University's business school and had plans to be a lawyer one day. But his scholarship only covered tuition, and there were a lot of other expenses at NYU.
I heard the news, some Korean wanted some teacher. So, I recommendation, why don't you go to the Korea, and then you study the English, and then you save some little bit money.
Scott followed his dad's advice and took a year off from college to build up his savings by teaching English in South Korea. This past August, Scott and 2 fellow teachers decided to take some time off. They headed to Tokyo to explore. August 27th, on their first night in Tokyo, Scott and his friends head out to the Shinjuku district, an area full of bars with a reputation for a rowdy nightlife. They visit a few bars, then Scott decides to take off for a while on his own. Several hours later, he's found at the bottom of a stairwell in this building, bleeding heavily and fighting for his life. Min-Suk Lee lives here in Tokyo, and she was the emergency contact for those guys when they came here to visit Japan. Min-Suk, you got the call from the U.S. Embassy, and you had to go to the hospital that night to see Scott. What did you see?
I tried this many times. I called him his name, and then I touched his moving body, and then he never moves, never gets the answer. He has many damage in his body. I took video at the time, because at that time his parents doesn't there, so I worry about it. If I have my son too, so maybe my son will be Scott. I think about it. I'm very sad, I'm very shocked. So I think about his parents.
I think it's wonderful that you took all those pictures and that you cared about his parents, and you cared, if he was your son, you would wish somebody would do that for you.
Yes. I think that times almost he will be dying soon.
You thought he was near death.
Mm-hmm.
You had to call his parents.
Yeah.
She told me, your son was found in a hospital, but now he's a coma. So you had to come to the Japan right away.
By the time Scott's parents arrived in Tokyo, he'd been in a coma for 5 days. Doctors had performed several surgeries. These photos taken by Min-Suk Lee shows Scott's desperate fight to survive.
Yeah, but this is very hard to see, my son, yeah.
Scott's parents prayed at his bedside for hours, talking to him, hoping for a sign that he could hear their voices. But the following day, Scott died. When his grieving parents went to the Japanese police, they couldn't believe what they were told. Investigators had concluded that Scott had had too much to drink that night and fell down 2 flights in a narrow stairwell. Sung Won says the police showed him surveillance tape from an elevator in the building where Scott was found. The authorities won't release the video, so we reenacted what's on the tape based on Sung Won's description. It shows Scott in the elevator alone when another man walks in. Cops say the 2 men were holding hands, but Scott's father says he saw something else. He says the video shows the hooded man trying to rob his son. When Scott didn't comply, Sung Won believes the man attacked him. But most agonizing for him to see were crime scene photos that showed a long blood streak, as if someone had dragged his son against the wall. Convinced that his son had been murdered and frustrated that the investigation seemed to be going nowhere, Sung Won reached out to the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo for help. And after many phone calls, complaints, and pleas, Japanese police have reopened the investigation into Scott's death. They recently identified the man with Scott in the surveillance tape as an employee of a bar in the building, but they haven't charged him with any crime, once again leaving a family aching for answers. Last month, the Kang's Church in Georgia held a memorial service to honor Scott on what would have been his 20th birthday.
God does good for those who love him, who have been called.
His suspicious death has stunned this community. They can see their friend's pain as they try to deal with their tragedy, knowing that the answers they desperately need are so far from home. Song, this is the first time that you've been here, where your son was killed. What was that like?
It's terrible and very sad now.
Very sad. Now, I've walked in your shoes. Took 27 years to close my son's case, to find out what happened to him. You're not giving up. You've been here twice. You've met with the police 4 times. What did they tell you?
They always say that falling down is falling down. So, I'm some very disappointments about the Japanese policeman.
Very disappointed and frustrated. In the video, it looks like he's grabbing Scott.
Yeah, grabbing Scott like someone like this.
To hurt him.
Yeah, and so he action to like this.
So they still say, go home, it's an accident.
Yeah, so they might want that, but I don't want to give up. So,
You're never going to give up.
Never give up.
You don't believe that it was an accident.
Yes, and then I believe there's a Scott justice. So I never give up, and then I try to find some justice.
I know that. Yeah. I know exactly what you're feeling. That's why we have to help this man. He wants justice. So if you have any information about what happened that night, if you have friends in Japan, you can go to our website, amw.com. You can go to that website from anywhere in the world. I promise you, you can remain anonymous. I promise you and guarantee you that we just need that tip. We need to find out what happened to this man's son and get him some justice.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Can I help you?
Actually, we will help ourselves.
Time. Los Angeles cops need your help to identify the man in this sketch. They say he followed a 13-year-old girl into a carport and then raped her. Then he tried to carve a replica of his chest tattoo into her hand with a pocket knife. Cops fear the attacker may be part of a sex trafficking ring based in Northern California. Call us if you know who he is. Tokyo's Ginza district is one of the priciest shopping areas in the world. It's also where two of Japan's biggest jewelry heists went down. Back in 2004, one diamond necklace worth $33 million was stolen here. And just 3 years later, police say the same thieves were back again. Here's the videotape of that robbery in action. The thieves spray the employees with tear gas. Then they grab only what they came for, a jeweled necklace and a diamond tiara. They're in and out with the loot in just 36 seconds. But this time, police used everything from DNA to facial recognition experts to nail the robbers. And that's when they were surprised to find out that they were part of a bigger gang of international thieves that pulled jewelry heists all over the world. As a matter of fact, that gang became the focus of one of the most massive investigations ever undertaken by Interpol, the world's largest international police organization. So I went from Tokyo, Japan, to Interpol headquarters in Lyon, France, to meet the man who's heading that investigation, Greek police captain Christos Parthenis.
Welcome to Interpol, Mr. Wells.
International gang, well organized. How many of them around the world?
We estimate that there are more than 300 to 400 suspects.
Any guesstimates about how much they've stolen?
A rough estimate is approximately more than 350 million US dollars.
Now, cops have given this gang a very interesting name. What is it?
The name is Pink Panthers. Allegedly, one of the suspects hidden some of the jewelry in a jar of face cream, like it was done in one of Pink Panthers' films series.
A lot of people believe that they join this gang, members around the world, because they're desperate.
We think that they are very professional, and they do that for profit.
For profit, for sure. And that's the case of two guys who joined this gang and pulled off one of the boldest and largest robberies. Milan Lapoya and Duško Poznan met up in the former war-torn Yugoslavia in the late 1990s.
Look at that, Duško. That could be us.
I have a friend who knows some people. Help us get started. Big-time jewels. Friends, just follow me. If he likes you, you're in. Gazda! These are Milan and Duško. They are my friends. They can be trusted.
We'll see.
This will only work if all of you get in this door.
Can I help you?
Actually, we will help ourselves.
Surveillance cameras caught the Panthers pulling off heists all over Europe. The robberies were ruthless and often violent. But they were highly profitable, netting the Panthers millions, and Lapoya and Poznan lived it up on their take. Their sloppiness, After La Polla's prints were lifted from the jewelry store robbery in Liechtenstein, he became one of Europe's most wanted fugitives. Several months later, he was arrested at the French-Swiss border. Geneva detective Jan Glassi, an authority on international thieves, was brought in to question La Polla.
That was the first time I see him. He speaks like a professional, that means a criminal, a real criminal. And he was very, very calm.
I'm not a thief.
Which one are you? The fool or the wise one?
We'll have to find out.
No explanation. I want to go back to the jail, okay? We bring you back to the jail. And after that, after some days, he was extradited to Liechtenstein.
On July 19, 2006, after La Polla broke his own hand, he was taken to a nearby hospital.
We'll take it from here. Good to see you, my friend.
After that, he was a fugitive. There was an arrest warrant for him.
It's good to get you back.
We need to work. You've all grown a little bit soft since I've been gone, eh? And not all of you in the right way. Our next job.
Let's see what it is. Look at that. Nice.
A mall.
Not just any mall. This is the Wafi Mall in Dubai.
We can't go into a mall to rob a store. It will take too long to get in and out. He's scared. Like a little girl. And he can be replaced. And replace me. I'm in.
Me too.
I'm in!
The plan is simple. We fly to Dubai with new identities, spend the day staking out the mall, and then we rent a couple of cars, and then we drive right in.
The plan was bold, the idea audacious. When we come back, the Pink Panther gang's biggest and most outrageous robbery to date. And it was all caught on tape. They're members of an international gang of thieves known as the Pink Panthers, and have pulled off high-end jewelry store robberies from Tokyo to London to Liechtenstein. But this gang's most reckless and bold crime would happen in a place known as the Jewel of the Middle East, Dubai. On April 15, 2007, La Polla and his crew drove 2 rented Audis right into the Wafi Mall. Their escape was caught on a cell phone camera. You can actually see the crew run from the jewelry store. And just like that, they were gone. The crew then attempted to incinerate any evidence that could link them to the crime. But as he'd done in Liechtenstein, La Polla slipped up. Investigators found a rental agreement in one of the cars. It was signed by La Polla's girlfriend, Bojana Mitic. And soon the whole world would know about the Pink Panthers when this video of their heist went viral. But fame would also be the gang's undoing. A few months after the Wafi Mall robbery, Duško Poznan was arrested when a cop ID'd him in Monte Carlo. However, to take down the crew's leader, Milan La Polla, it would take more than good police work. It would also take a little luck. On May 29, 2008, 2 years after first interviewing La Polla, Detective Jan Glassi was working with a French detective on an unrelated case. They were checking names on the registry of a hotel located just across the Swiss border.
We speak with the hotel owner and we say, wait, we have just to check your papers. When I turn my head, I see a tall man. I say, oh, I know this guy. I try to remember where I had seen him for the first time. I turn once again my head, and he looks at me at the same time. I had the flash in my head, I said, oh, it's Liepoja. It's Liepoja Milan.
Come with me.
Dans les rues de Paris, moi je suis poursuivi. Qui c'est qui me suit? J'entends moi derrière moi un écho de pinceau. C'est suffisant. Je me tourne, plus un bruit, plus personne. C'est plus personne. Reste qu'un que je suis libre d'esprit. J'avale pas.
Liepoja was trying to go on the other side. I was trying to catch him on my side. So we fight. I tell him, Milan, let you do it. You can do nothing. You can do nothing. Now you are catch. Liepoja fall on the other side and began to run.
Good job.
I only caught you by one leg.
So, here we are again.
Yes. Now that I caught one of the Pink Panthers, does that make me famous?
Maybe. If they find out about the job we did in a very hot place.
You speaking of Dubai. This is all a game to you, huh?
Of course it is. And we're both very good at it.
I'm a little better.
Detective Glassy is one smart cop, and he did a really good job, didn't he?
Absolutely, without no doubt. He's very dedicated, very motivated. He has interviewed a lot of them, and I think he's doing a great job.
It was a big part of putting Liepoja in jail, and Liepoja's in jail right now, right? What about his friends?
Some of his friends are still at large. I can name Metic Bojana, Lovric Bedrag, and Lazarevic Mladen. Law enforcement agencies are looking for them, and I think that the public might help.
These guys could be anywhere, but I do know that there's a large Yugoslavian population in the United States, and maybe they may run into these guys. Go to our website. You'll see photographs of the Pink Panthers there. And if you're afraid or you want to leave us a tip, I guarantee you can remain anonymous. We have got to take the Pink Panthers down before they hurt somebody.
He killed his family. I'm a family man. I'm a grandfather. How somebody could do that to their kids, how he could do it to his wife. I don't understand people. I don't understand how people could do that to their family.
A convicted child molester's on the run, and cops need your help to find him. While a jury in Elkhart, Indiana, listened to damning evidence against Roberto Vasquez, he knew he'd be put away and fled. Vasquez poses as a spiritual consultant to Hispanic families, and he might be in Chicago. Call if you can help cops take him down. There's no way I could stop by Interpol and not check in on my good friend Ron Noble. He's the first Secretary General of Interpol from the United States, and he's finishing his second term at the helm. Ron's leadership has brought sweeping changes to the organization. Ron, it's great to be here at Interpol to see you again. And we've worked together on a lot of cases over the years. We've done a lot of your red notice fugitives and had some pretty good success together.
Yes. The case that stands out in my mind is Rabbi Horowitz. You recall it's a case that you profiled, and a combination of your work plus Interpol databases that had a passport that he used that was stolen. He was caught in India. Shows that the way that our two institutions work well together.
Kenneth Freeman's another case I'll never forget. A guy who made a disgusting video of him molesting his own 9-year-old daughter.
He's someone who thought he could just flee and escape. He goes to China thinking that he can be beyond the long arm of the law. And we waited for him to go to Hong Kong, where there was an extradition agreement between Hong Kong and the U.S., and he was able to get arrested and sent back to the U.S. to stand for justice.
And we teamed up to get a couple of mobsters, Lika and Dika, and one of them has been caught, and we're still looking for the other guy.
I think what it shows us is that America's Most Wanted's reach now is global. It's no longer just America and the world we find ourselves in now, it's global. And the fact that Interpol and America's Most Wanted can work closer together, I think will keep more children safer and more criminals behind bars.
Now, I know our viewers are anxious to take down more of your most wanted guys, your red notice guys. And we're working closely, just like you are, with the U.S. Marshals to take them down. U.S. Marshals Inspector Mark Sheely has played a key role in many of our captures.
Okay.
But there's one fugitive who Mark wants brought to justice more than any other. A man who committed an unspeakable crime and has been on the run for more than 34 years.
He feels he got away and nobody's ever going to find him. That bothers me a lot.
In home videos like these, Brad Bishop appeared to have a great life, a beautiful wife and family, a home in the suburbs, and a job with the U.S. State Department. But in truth, he was a troubled man, about to be pushed over the edge. On March 1st, 1976, Bishop learned that he'd been denied a promotion which would have sent him to Europe on assignment. After getting the news, Bishop told his secretary he felt ill and was going home early.
On his way home, he stopped off to the Sears and purchased a gasoline can and a ball-peen hammer. From there, he went back to his residence.
That night, police say Bishop took the hammer and brutally beat his wife, mother, and 3 young sons to death. Bishop then drove the bodies almost 300 miles to a remote area of North Carolina and tried to cover up evidence of the crime. Police launched a massive manhunt, but Bishop had vanished. Over the years, there have been 3 confirmed sightings of Bishop in Europe. In July 1978 in Stockholm, Sweden. In January 1979 in Sorrento, Italy. And in September 1994 in Basel, Switzerland. Although Bishop hasn't been seen in more than 16 years, Mark is convinced he's still alive.
To be blunt, this guy's too arrogant to die right now. If he was dead, that we would have received some sort of notification that he had passed and that he outsmarted the system all these years.
It's a case that's personally affected many people, even a hardened fugitive hunter like Mark Sheely.
He killed his family. You know, I'm a family man. I'm a grandfather within the last month. How somebody could do that to their kids, how he could do it to his wife. I don't understand people. I don't understand how people could do that to their family. So.
This is the last known photograph of Brad Bishop. This is how artists believe his appearance has changed over the years. William Bradford Bishop would now be 74 years old. He enjoys outdoor activities like tennis and skiing and speaks 5 languages fluently. Bishop could be in the area around Sorrento, Italy. Mark believes he may have worked as a teacher, but wherever he is, I know we can help Mark hunt him down and finally close this case. If you have any information that can help make that happen, call our hotline tonight. Another fugitive who could be anywhere tonight is Ted Conrad. An all-American kid with boyish good looks and charm to match, Conrad grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. In 1969, he got a summer job.
Ted Conrad had been the vault teller at Society National Bank.
But he had bigger dreams.
Ted Conrad had been obsessed with a movie known as The Thomas Crown Affair. And his friends tell us he watched it at least 6 times. And the movie was all about a bank heist. and the star, Steve McQueen, eventually took off with a whole lot of money and left the United States. And it appears that Ted Conrad may have modeled himself after that.
According to the FBI, on July 11, 1969, Conrad left the bank with his lunch bag. Inside of it, $215,000. When tellers realized the money was gone, they noticed Conrad was missing too. The daring robbery made national news, but Conrad vanished. The only tracks he left behind were these two regretful letters to his girlfriend. The first was postmarked from Washington, D.C.'s National Airport, and the second from Inglewood, California, the home of Los Angeles International Airport. Unfortunately for Conrad, one of his neighbors was Deputy U.S. Marshal Pete Elliott Sr.
I talked to a lot of kids that knew him, and they said, well, let him go. He's going to make it. He's like a Robin Hood, things of that sort. In my opinion, he was just a thief.
Pete had no interest in allowing Conrad to become a folk hero. He made catching his young neighbor a top priority. He never could do that. But when he retired, his son, Pete Elliott Jr., took over the search.
I've kind of grown up with that name my whole life. I can remember back in the 70s, my father talking about it. He never let it go, and, always talked about the apprehension of Mr. Conrad one day.
Now a marshal himself, Pete Jr. has assigned new investigators to the case and teamed up with the FBI to sort through volumes of evidence. And they've turned up some new clues.
Ted Conrad loved sports cars. As we know, he loved the Porsche automobile. He loved to play billiards, and he loved to play golf as well. We believe that Conrad, with his high level of IQ, is somewhat lazy. He believed that people owed him something. He's very vain, and he's willing to take advantage of those other people.
Ted Conrad has taken advantage of people long enough. Let's help Marshal Pete Elliott Jr. and his dad get their man tonight. Take a close look at these age-enhanced photos. Conrad may be traveling with a prized possession, a pewter mug like this inscribed with the initials TC. He speaks fluent French and could possibly be in France. He's left-handed and before the robbery hoped to be a teacher. If you know where Ted Conrad's hiding, please call our hotline 1-800-CRIME-TV.
Each year there was multiple victims. There was a large number of victims, over 29.
Within a very short period of time, we get a phone call from the neighbors. Did you hear what happened?
Ron, I'll never forget being at Ground Zero, flying right here to do the world's most wanted terrorists with you here in Interpol. And this room didn't exist back then. What is this?
Well, this is the Interpol Command and Coordination Center, which was created because of 9/11. When 9/11 happened, we realized we weren't able to provide 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week support to our member country police forces around the world. And the people you see working here are people that are able to support police in our 4 official languages, English, French, Arabic, and Spanish, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
You've changed so many things here at Interpol, but one of the things I love the most is that you've moved child predators up to the top of your list. Why?
Well, as a father of a 9-year-old, the thought of someone molesting or raping my child or anyone else's child is a reason why I and others like me are committed to preventing these crimes from happening and bringing these guys to justice.
I love the way that your priorities are in order. And as a matter of fact, the guy you want the most is a child predator who's on tonight's show. And I really hope we can help you nail this guy. Nestled next to the glistening mountains of Boulder, Colorado, is a sleepy subdivision called Arapahoe Ridge. You'd be hard-pressed to find a place around here with more young families, and even more hard-pressed to find a good babysitter.
Well, it was hard in the neighborhood because a lot of the families had young kids. So when you come across a babysitter that's very responsible, everybody latches on. It's almost like a fight to find a babysitter so you can go out.
Don, a cop, and his wife felt very lucky. Their neighbor, a 15-year-old baby-faced kid named Chris Deininger, fit the bill perfectly. Chris and his family had recently moved to Boulder from Italy. Chris immediately became a volunteer with a local police department, a Cub Scout, and earned straight A's.
So on paper, I mean, he was the perfect, 5-star babysitter. He would come to your house, and when he would leave, the dishes would be clean, there wouldn't be any messes whatsoever, and it seemed like the kids were getting along really good with him.
We're hiding Don's identity because that perfect babysitter for his 2-year-old daughter was anything but. The revelation came one night in 2000 when Deininger knocked on Don's front door.
Well, my daughter sees him come in the house, and normally she'd go up, give him a hug, whatever it may be. She did a beeline for my wife, and she did the death grip. She wouldn't let go of either one of us. And she was trembling, she was scared, and we're like, okay, something's not right. Within a very short period of time, we get a phone call from the neighbors. Did you hear what happened? One of the neighbors, who was right the same age as my daughter, that she made a disclosure that Chris was being inappropriate, that he sexually assaulted her.
Detective Brett Callahan quickly determined the smooth-talking Deininger had babysat for more than 40 kids in the neighborhood.
They're all saying the same things. Some of them were talking about videos that were being watched while the suspect was in the house. Some of them were talking about cameras, pictures being taken of them. We also had some of the victims that we brought in for medical examinations that we found evidence of sexual assault.
Detective Callahan now had enough to arrest Deininger, but it was too late. While Deininger's family stayed around, authorities say they helped their son find a safe haven.
Eventually, I was able to track him down to Seattle, and then through his attorney, they surrendered him to us so he could be taken to jail.
Deininger didn't stay in jail for long. For one, he was a juvenile. And two, prosecutors didn't want to put toddlers on the stand and re-victimize them. To avoid jail, Deininger pled guilty to molesting 3 girls and was classified as an adult, the most dangerous type of sex offender. He was placed in a treatment center, then a halfway house, and was supervised daily.
He was followed various times that he wasn't aware of, like going to work, coming to probation, going to school.
That level of supervision was necessary, particularly in light of the bombshell Deininger revealed to his probation officer.
He shared there was multiple victims. There was a large number of victims, over 29.
29 victims. But Deininger didn't stick around to admit to anything else. In April of 2005, after he withdrew $7,000 from a bank account he shared with his dad, cops say he boarded a plane to London and disappeared. Just last year, Interpol learned that in May of 2005, Deininger stayed at a Swiss hotel, but he could be anywhere now.
Christopher Ward Deininger has a red notice for attempting.
Now, before we go, I want to thank my good friend Ron Noble and everybody here at Interpol for helping me make tonight's show. I'm really glad that Ron has made the fight against child predators a top priority. It's a big worldwide fight. And next week, I'm headed to one of the darkest and saddest battlegrounds. We're going to Cambodia, a place where child predators from the U.S. and other Western countries feel free to pursue their disgusting perversions. I need you to help me track down some of those creeps. Until then, from Interpol headquarters here in Lyon, please stay safe